there is a story unfolding. A story of humanity's progress through history, propelled by the teachings of messengers of God. Messengers guiding humanity through its stages of development, and now to the dawn of its maturity. Now is the time of Bahá'u'lláh, the messenger of God for this day.
Bahá'u'llah's purpose is to unite all mankind, to bring all races, classes, peoples, different backgrounds to be united.
The teachings of Bahá'u'lláh are inspiring millions of people, transforming neighborhoods, villages, and cities in every country on earth.
Bahá'u'lláh è venuto per trasformare l'intero carattere dell'umanità, portare un cambiamento interiore ed esteriore nelle condizioni del mondo.
Bahá'u'llah's teachings are vast in scope, essential in nature. Their central feature is the oneness of humankind, with all its implications for the transformation of those essential relationships that bind peoples and nations, helping them to transcend all forms of prejudice, to advance the equality of women and men, to uplift the downtrodden, and to foster economic justice. These teachings of Bahá'u'lláh represent an end to division and otherness. This is the time for the recognition that all people are one family, for the building of a united world that embraces the diversity of its peoples. It is a new chapter of humanity's story, a chapter that began 200 years ago. Persia, 1817. The world is asleep. It is the hour of dawn on an ordinary day, when an extraordinary child is born to humanity. He will come to be known as Bahá'u'lláh. As a child, Bahá'u'lláh lives a princely life. His father is a distinguished government minister, and his ancestry goes back to the greatest dynasties of Persia. As Bahá'u'lláh grows to young adulthood, he turns his back on a life of luxury and prominence, and instead dedicates himself to helping the poor and the oppressed.
Bahá'u'lláh devient déjà à l'âge de 22 ans. Et comme c'était de la coutume, il devrait remplacer son père dans ce ministère. Bahá'u'lláh a nié le poste de ministre, il a préféré rester comme ça, du jour au jour. Il y avait toujours les nécessités. Il y avait toujours les pauvres. Matin et soir, il y avait des visiteurs. Et c'est pourquoi on l'appelait le père des pauvres.
1844. Bahá'u'llah's reputation for kindness and compassion, for insight and wisdom, becomes widespread in his native land. At the same time, a sudden and galvanizing movement begins to spread throughout all of Persia. a young man, known as the Bab, or the Gate, had arisen to awaken humanity and prepare the world for the long-awaited promised one of all ages. Bahá'u'lláh becomes a prominent supporter of his cause. But the Bab's teachings are met with opposition from those in power. The clergy and the government denounce him and relentlessly persecute his followers. Thousands are murdered. (1850). A military square in Tabriz. The Bab himself is executed under dramatic circumstances.
Após a execução do Bab, seus seguidores continuaram a ser perseguidos até que milhares foram massacrados. E Bahá'u'lláh foi levantada uma falsa acusação sobre ele, até que o mandato de prisão foi emitido.
He was arrested. He was chained, he was beaten, he was made to walk barefooted, and then he was put into a dungeon called Siyah-Chal, literally means the black pit.
But it was in the same Siyah-Chal that Baha'u'lláh received inspiration from God, that he is the manifestation of God for today.
During the days I lay in the prison of Tehran, though the galling weight of the chains and the stench-filled air allowed me but little sleep, still, in those infrequent moments of slumber, I felt as if something flowed from the crown of my head over my breast, even as a mighty torrent that precipitateth itself upon the earth from the summit of a lofty mountain. Bahá'u'lláh endures 4 months of intense suffering in the Black Pit. Orders are given that he, along with his family, be banished forever from his homeland. Sick and frail, he crosses the Zagros Mountains in the bitter cold of winter to reach Baghdad. This begins a period of exile that will last the remaining 40 years of his life. For the time being, the truth of his divine mission is kept hidden. A year passes. Bahá'u'lláh takes to the wilderness, departing for solitude to the mountains in the region of Kurdistan. There, he immerses himself in meditation and prayer for 2 years. At length, abandoning my home and all that was therein, and renouncing my life and all that pertained thereunto, I retired alone and companionless. I roamed the wilderness of resignation. The birds of the air were my companions, and the beasts of the field my associates. The period is reminiscent of the meditation of Buddha at Bodh Gaya, the 40 days and nights that Jesus spent in the desert, and the retreat of Muhammad to the mountain of Nur. In time, the people in the area become aware of the presence of Bahá'u'lláh, and stories of his greatness spread throughout the region. The life-giving words of Bahá'u'llah's revelation flow with miraculous speed and force from his pen. In the course of his life, his writings would make up more than 100 volumes. writings that have now been translated into over 800 languages. During his time in Baghdad, he writes, "Is not the object of every revelation to effect a transformation in the whole character of mankind? A transformation that shall manifest itself both outwardly and inwardly, that shall affect both its inner life and external conditions?" (1863). The influence of Baha'u'lláh and his teachings continues to infuriate the Persian authorities. At their urging, the Ottoman Sultan exiles him farther still from his native land. Before departing Baghdad, Baha'u'lláh gathers his companions for 12 days in a garden called Rizwan on the Tigris River. It is here, with his tent pitched along the rose-lined pathways, that Baha'u'lláh proclaims publicly for the first time that he is the promised messenger of God for this day. In this moment, a new era in human history begins. Everything would change. The magnitude of the transformation called for by Baha'u'lláh is hinted at in some of the words he speaks regarding these days. That which was hidden is now revealed, and that which was concealed is now come. Bestir yourselves to greet this day, a day whereon the gates of heaven have been flung open, and the clouds of eternity have rained down. His words release a tidal wave of spiritual energy, whose effects will extend across countless generations into the future. Baha'u'lláh, along with his family and companions, is exiled deep into the Ottoman Empire. First to Istanbul, then Edirne. The authorities hope to eradicate his faith once and for all. But Baha'u'llah's influence proves unstoppable. Years pass. In 1868, he is banished yet again, this time to a harsh and remote colony on the outskirts of the Ottoman Empire, the prison city of Akka. It is during his exile and imprisonment that Baha'u'lláh writes letters to the monarchs and rulers of the time, openly proclaiming his station as the messenger of God for this day.
Baha'u'lláh wrote these letters to the kings and rulers of the world during an age of empires. This is a period of time where a few rulers governed most of the world.
Baha'u'lláh призывает этих правителей к чему-то. И очень важно, что это призыв к миру. К миру, а также к тому, чтобы вот эти сильные миры сего не притесняли свои народы.
How remarkable that this prisoner, under such appalling conditions, would write to the rulers and the kings of that time to offer guidance on how to lead their people with compassion and justice.
The message he gave them was that a ruler should listen to their people, they should govern in the interests of the poor, and they should consult in all of their affairs.
May 1892. After 40 years of suffering and exile on behalf of humanity, Baha'u'lláh passes away here in Batji. His resting place, now restored and beautified, is the spiritual heart and a place of pilgrimage for millions of people around the world. People striving daily in their home communities to put Baha'u'llah's teachings of unity, justice, and equality into practice.